Today, we are diving into an absolutely incredible ancient story. It's about a king whose entire destiny was shaped by something that happened before he even took his first breath. This is a story where fate itself was really put to the test. Let's get into it. I mean, just think about that question for a second. Can a hero be saved before he is even born? It sounds impossible, right? And that question is the absolute core of this story. We're talking about a crisis happening in the most vulnerable place you can imagine. You see, the stakes could not be any higher. The great Pandava dynasty, the heroes of the Mahabharata, they've been almost completely wiped out. Their entire future, everything they fought for, now rests on this one single unborn child. And to make matters worse, that child is now the target of a divine, unstoppable weapon. So how in the world did things get so desperate? Well, it all goes back to a final bitter act of revenge after a massive, world-altering war. Okay, so this weapon is called the Brahmastra. It was launched by a warrior named Ashwatthama, and its only purpose is total annihilation. The text describes this fiery energy literally consuming the child while he's still in his mother's womb. There's no shield, no defense on earth that can stop it. It really looks like the Pandava lineage is about to be snuffed out for good. But just when all hope is completely lost, something truly miraculous happens. The battle for the future of an entire dynasty actually moves from the battlefield right into the womb itself. Try to picture this. This unborn child surrounded by this inescapable burning energy, and then he sees a figure. A person just appears right there in the middle of all that chaos. Who could it possibly be? How is this even happening? And the description we get from the text is just, wow. It paints this amazing picture. We're told he sees a thumb-sized man, tiny but so powerful. He's described as dark and beautiful, wearing clothes that shimmer like lightning, and he's holding this blazing mace. And with that mace, he just swings it around, effortlessly neutralizing the fire of this unstoppable weapon, almost like the sun just burns away the morning fog. Incredible. And of course, this divine protector was none other than Lord Krishna himself. He stepped in directly to save the lineage of his devotees. And then, just as mysteriously as he arrived, once the danger was gone, so was he, vanished. So, with that cosmic crisis averted, the story takes a huge turn. We go from a moment of pure terror to one of absolute joy and celebration. At the perfect astrological time, when all the planets were aligned, the child is finally born. The kingdom has its heir. The sources say he was born so radiant, so full of potential, that it was like his legendary great-grandfather Pandu himself had been born all over again. You can just imagine the relief and joy felt by the king, Yudhishthira. It was just boundless. To celebrate, he immediately starts all the birth rituals and just gives away fortunes. I mean, we are talking mountains of gold, huge herds of cows, entire villages and tracts of land, the very best elephants and horses, and tons of grain. This was more than a party. It was the whole kingdom breathing a collective sigh of relief. Okay, so the heir is safe and sound. The next big step? Figuring out his destiny. What kind of king was this miracle child actually going to become? So following tradition, King Yudhishthira calls for all the wisest sages and astrologers in the entire land. Their job was to read the stars, to look for all the signs, and basically to prophesize the life and the character of this new little prince. And what they came back with was just astounding. The sages declared he was going to be a legendary ruler. They compared him to the biggest names in history. Righteous like Lord Rama, generous like King Shibi, and an archer just as skilled as his own grandfather, the one and only Arjuna. The message was clear. This kid was destined for greatness. But then, the prophecy takes a really shocking turn. The sages revealed this dual destiny. Yes, he's going to have this glorious reign, protecting good and punishing evil. But they also saw his end. They predicted he would find out about his own death from a serpent's bite, and when he heard this news, he would give up everything, his entire kingdom, to seek enlightenment and ultimately find salvation. So his life would be amazing, but his death was already written in the stars. And this all leads us to his name, which is maybe the most fascinating part of the entire story, because it ties directly back to that unbelievable event that happened before he was even born. He was named Parikshit. Now, in Sanskrit, that name means the examiner or the seeker. So why that name? What's the story there? This is where it all comes together. The source tells us that because of that experience in the womb, Parikshit lived his entire life with this lingering memory of that tiny, thumb-sized savior. So for his whole life, he would carefully observe or examine every single person he met, because he was constantly searching, seeking the divine figure who had saved him. His name literally became his life's mission. And that's what's so powerful here, you know? It's a story about a life that was saved before it even began, and a death that was foretold right at the start. It kind of leaves you with one big question to think about. If you knew everything, the absolute best parts, and the exact way it would all end, how would you choose to live your life?